Welcome to the Over the Hump podcast. Your gateway to the world of the iconic Brahman breed of cattle. At BRC Ranch, our passion for Brahman cattle runs deep. Join us as we delve into the heart of this extraordinary breed, unveiling its rich history, exploring industry trends, and sharing captivating stories that define the American Brahman. BRC Ranch stands as the pinnacle of Brahman excellence in America, boasting a decade-long legacy of champions and housing the finest Brahman bulls worldwide. It's not just about cattle, it's about a legacy that reverberates across ranches and hearts. Brought to you by BRC Ranch, where the Brahman legacy thrives and stories are woven into the very fabric of ranching. This is Over the Hump.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Over the Hump podcast. And this is a very exciting episode because we have 5 amazing people here. Should everybody say hi?
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Carlos Gazar.
Hey.
Lynn Castaneda.
And me.
The love of my life. Right? So we are getting together for a Houston wrap-up podcast. And we are recording this maybe, what day is this? Wednesday? The Wednesday after Houston. By the time y'all hear it, it'll be a little bit later. But if we sound a little tired, there's a reason why.
And I will say this is our first podcast that we've recorded in our new office. You might hear sounds of birds because we've got the windows open because it's such a beautiful spring day outside. We got a little rain today. We needed it badly. It's a great day.
You might also hear Annie singing in the background.
Which is always pleasant to hear Annie singing.
So we did a Houston podcast wrap up last year and it was really well received. So we wanted to do a Houston podcast wrap up this year. And I don't know exactly where we start. Connor, do I toss it to you? As your first year as the official BRC herdsman, and
Absolutely.
You had Champion Bull and Reserve Champion Heifer, and so you did amazing. But would you just give us a recap of what it was like for you?
Absolutely. The nerves were very high, probably starting January 1st. And I was shaking in my boots about every day. And I don't know, it was just a blessing just to get the opportunity to be the herdsman, and it couldn't have went any better for my first time at Houston being the herdsman.
I'd say so. It was a great time. You did a great job. You had an awesome team backing you up.
Absolutely.
I was thinking of going into Houston. I would say Rachel and I both, we felt as confident and as comfortable going into Houston as we almost ever have. Just one, not only the quality of cattle, but also the prep work going into it was easy. It was done. You guys took care of things. You had the cattle on point. Management was on, right there where it needed to be at 12 o'clock. And we just felt really good going into it. So kudos to you from us.
We felt good about it, but I think Connor was a little nervous, right?
Very nervous.
I think you were a little nervous going into it because, we have 13,000 checklists and we got everything done and everything was done well ahead of schedule, but
Yes,
there's still just that nerves.
Absolutely.
The nerves.
But when you have the quality of cattle that I had to work with before Houston, it makes it really easy because the job that Mr. Brandon and Miss Rachel and Lynn do breeding these cattle, it makes it really easy to, have them looking great.
If you haven't seen the video that Carlos made of Houston, the first scene where it's you winning Champion Bull with 6 gun is so amazing because you just look so happy and it's like you're lip reading and you have so much joy, and knowing what we all know about the amount of work you put in with not just 6 gun but everything else, it was really good to see that.
Felt like a big weight lifted off my shoulders.
You relaxed for 11 months now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I did want to add to that how when we moved into the office, you came into my new office and said, I want one of those Colombian hats you got right there. And as soon as you got that champion slap, I was like, CT's got that Colombian hat.
I was excited. That might have been my favorite part.
We might mention our crew because
Absolutely.
we have a lot of new faces. I guess it was Wednesday of the show. I got a message from Stuart, and he had texted me. Stuart Watkins. He was like, "Your crew is on fire," and he said that we have a lot of new team members,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that maybe they didn't know who he was, but he was like, the minute he got in the aisle, that they were like, "Hey, how can I help you? Can I show you anything?" And like they were on it.
Yes, ma'am. So pretty much the whole crew, besides the Boyces, Lynn and I, were new with us to Houston, and I couldn't ask of a better team behind me, backing me up. And they really did make it easy for me. They really did.
Yeah, so you had Jarek joining
Yes,
us.
ma'am.
Jarek Garcia is from bowling, and the funny part was, what did he say? That someone asked him, like, how long have you been doing this? And he
Yes,
was like,
ma'am.
about 6 months. Oh, but like you couldn't tell it. And then, of course, Jaden Davis joined us, and
Yes, ma'am.
student at Blinn and doing great. And Maz Siddiqui was on our team. And of course, the Bachas, their case has been with us for probably 5 years
Yes,
now.
ma'am.
And so we had a great team. Yeah. So when the show started, group class day, Wednesday, what were you thinking? What is everybody's kind of thoughts and vibe on the group classes?
On the group classes, I told the crew, I was like, we have to make sure everything, looks great because we have to make a good first impression on the judge.
Yeah.
So
I will say group classes is my favorite part of it all. And it's not necessarily my favorite day of the year. My favorite day of the year comes the week before when we put our group classes together.
Yes, sir.
On how we're going to line them up, which animals are going to be in the group class and all that kind of stuff like that. And I take it very seriously, and I love that day. But when it all comes together and getting the people on the stick and making sure everything gets just right, and we go in there and we do really good, that's where I love it. I love the get-a-sires, the produces, the dams, and all that stuff that goes with it, because to me, it's the biggest testament to our program.
Yes, sir.
To put together a group of cattle that are, one, high quality, but also extremely uniform, that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel really good to be able to see it. And then when we do good, that's even better. But even if we didn't, just having them out there on the stage where people from all over the world, the stands are filled, live feeds and all that, they can see it. No matter how we place, they can see it for themselves. Those that haven't had the chance to visit the ranch and see it in person, but when you get them together, grouped up, and like, that's a really nice set of cattle that match up good.
Yeah.
Yes,
that makes
sir.
me feel good.
Well, the person who doesn't like showing, just admitted that their favorite day of the year was the day you picked the group classes from the shows.
But it's not. It's a different kind of deal, just because you get to see the quality and the consistency.
So on that day, not to give away all of our secrets, but like we pretty much bring our whole show string out, and we put different cattle together that could be like, we put all the 160s out there and see who would be the best one and get a sire and look at it, and typically we do that off of a rear view because that's how normally the group classes are done. But this year it was done a little different. PJ did it a little different. And Brandon and I were sitting in the stands when the red classes showed. And if you were there, you remember PJ he did every animal on the profile. And I actually thought that was genius because in the group class strategy trickery that some people use, sometimes if you don't have 4 really good animals out of a bull, you put the average 2 in the middle and squeeze them in as tight as you can. And, people can kind of pass off some lower quality animals that way. But the way that PJ did it, he looked at every single animal that was exhibited. He watched every single animal walk that was exhibited. And I thought it was genius. I loved it. I don't know what you guys thought.
I will say during watching the reds go before the grays. So while it was going on, when it first started going on, I was like, one, how is this going to work logistically? Because I've never seen it done this way before. 2, it's awesome because you can see the cattle individually that make up the group. You can see how they move and put more emphasis on how they move. But there were so many feelings of that, of uncertainty, because like there's a lot of cattle in the ring right now. And we're basically just spiraling them in there.
It was like a cinnamon roll.
Yeah,
That's what I thought,
it was.
a cinnamon roll of cattle.
But it was cool because he could see them. He could see all of them at any point just by making one turn around the arena and not having to walk to an individual group and really studying them and look them over. And so that was good. But the way it ended up, I had the uncertainty, but like, I've never seen this done before. But it really turned out good because I've never seen the show ring with that many cattle managed so well and evaluated so efficiently and quickly as they did in that. And after seeing that in the Reds, I'm like, oh, we're good here because one, we didn't have one of those weak ones in the group and that we were trying to hide. And I'm like, oh, wait, this is going to be wonderful for us. It's going to work out in our favor. So I'm like, you guys, we just told the team what to expect when they were walking in because it was different than they knew. And I said, roll with it, guys. And it was and girls, and it's wonderful. But really, I like when Molly goes out there and shares the sticks with us and it works one side of the cattle with the sticks because I know how much she likes it. So I do get a lot of joy seeing her in there with us and taking pride in our breeding program.
So in the red classes, so if you don't know how the Register of Renown points work, unless they've changed it, but you have to place every single group and you basically get 1 point for every group that you beat. Yeah. So you have to place the entire group. If there's 25 ET produces, you got to place 25 because I guess if you get last, you get 0 points. But if you get next to last, you still get 1 point because you beat one group. And I don't know if y'all remember, this may have been before y'all's time, but it was the year they had the 3-man judging panel. There were so many groups, they just placed like a top 5 and they excused everybody. And then someone pointed out places 6 through 25 didn't get any Register of Renown points. So the way that they resolved that is they rejudged. They said, okay, if you place 6th through 25th, you can come back at the end of the show and we like Friday evening and we will rejudge places 6th through 25th. Like, so everybody had an opportunity. And I was a little afraid that was fixing to happen again, because when we were sitting up there and PJ had kind of pulled some into the middle, at that point, we didn't know if those were making the cut, if those were being excused. And I said, do you think I should go tell them, don't forget you have to place the entire class? And then you said, he's placing them bottom to top. And then right about that time, he got on the mic and said, these have been placed like 25 through 15, and they can be excused. And it was like everybody else who was on the rail, you just saw them like completely perk up, like they got a second win because they thought they had not been placed, but they realized they were now in the top 10. Like, and they just started walking faster. And it was really good.
I am so glad we got to watch it in the Reds before we had to experience. Otherwise, it would have been like, I would have felt like I got gut shot, you know?
Yeah.
Me too, because and goes back to our crew being a lot of first timers. You know, he worked it very well because a lot of them, that was their first time showing in the group classes, and they didn't get lost at all. I mean, they did they did really good.
I have seen a show in Mexico, Carlos, you might have been at that show. It was several years ago where there was a lot of walking and lots of inner circles, and it was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
But this was not a disaster at all. Do you remember?
Yeah, the bull that's running.
Yeah.
That was the bull that's going to be the champion.
Yeah, but this was very, very well managed, and it like the circle just kept getting smaller and smaller, and it was great.
Unrolling the cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
For me, or another perspective I thought of was like a grand march in a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And it was almost like kudos to him because it was a controlled chaos, the way he handled it all, very well managed. I couldn't imagine how he was able to just keep everything in line in his head, but that's just how a renowned judge does this job.
But you can see because he was like doing a puzzle with all the pieces.
He's putting all the pieces together.
I think PJ has judged numerous shows. I think he probably put a lot of thought into this prior to, I mean, maybe not. Maybe he just did it off the fly. But to me, it looked like it was very well thought out how to organize and efficiently do it.
I think with all of his experience from judging all around the world, he's probably just put it all together over time and said, hey, this is a good way to do it, because That guy's been everywhere.
Well, I love kind of moving into the show. I loved how they just walked and kind of he pulled like the keepers, right? He pulled
pulled the
keeper.
ones that he sent out the
No,
ring.
okay, he
Yes,
pulled the
ma'am.
ones he was excusing.
From bottom to top is how he placed.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
When he would get 10, he would excuse them, and he would just work down until he got to his top 10, and then his top 10 would end up ultimately being out there. And I think, and when he got those placed, he would talk the top 5.
I appreciated that. I kind of watched my clock on the first division of red heifer calves, and it took about an hour. And there was a lot of those. And then the grays took about an hour. But I can remember some Houstons where the calf division wasn't finished till noon, and we were done by 10. So, what day did we finish the bull show? Or what time did we finish the bull show? 3?
3, it was 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Both
was
show days, it was still light outside
yeah. And there's been some nights where we've been out there.
past midnight.
Last year was 2 in the morning. Last year we finished females at 1 in the morning.
Well, I was looking back through some of our expenses in our budget, and maybe it was last year. I paid our crew for an extra day on Thursday because they literally worked 24 hours. Like it was noted in our budget that their rate was $150 a day, but we ended up paying them $300 a day because it was a 24-hour day. Yeah. Anything else, guys? I mean, any other big show highlights?
I don't know. When I stepped out of the room a second ago, I hope I didn't miss anything. But when y'all were talking about the crew, did y'all mention Eduardo and Alexis?
Oh, yeah.
We forgot to mention them.
Because I do want to say, every year we get interns from the working with the University of Chapingo in Mexico City, and they send us interns. And we've had a lot of really good interns over the years. But Eduardo and Alexis are next level. They do a great job, and every time you see them, they got a smile on their face. They're happy to see you. They're appreciative. They're wonderful, and they work really hard. So I would like to give a shout out to those guys.
I would also. They, the last 2 months with me, sometimes me not being in the, just being nervous, and they've been a blessing. They really have. And I also want to give a shout out to them also.
Yeah, I would also they're guys who are very eager to learn and learn by doing and get after it. Sometimes there is a language barrier, but these guys, it's like you can speak any language in cattle and they, everyone understands it. It's a universal language. And so they got after it and they helped us get the job done. So shout out to them.
Yeah, I was sold on them when I took them to their first month. We were short-handed, and I took those 2 guys with me to Louisiana, and we transferred embryos. And they did great, which is not a good jumping off place with me if you're going to go on the
right. Louisiana is where you get yelled at.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was great. But those guys are great. And nobody's mentioned Ishmael. Ishmael is the glue that holds it all together here back at the ranch, and he's awesome. He's like the perfect role model for everybody. So
I kind of want to transition into a little bit more spotlight on Six Gun, the champion bull. And Six Gun was a division champion last year at Houston and looked amazing, and, owned by BRC and Jackson Crew. Jackson showed him this summer at TJBA in the All-American, and we showed him at Lufkin, which was August?
July.
Yes,
ma'am.
And then he kind of disappeared. I had someone say, like, where's that bull been from July till now? Like, we haven't seen him at the shows. We haven't seen him on your Facebook. Like, where was he? And there's a little story to that. So I think people might kind of like to know, like, what was Six Gun up to for these last 9 months and why,
So after the show in Lufkin, sometimes these show cattle need a reset. Pushing them on show feed all day, every year it's probably not the healthiest for them. So they do need a reset. That's just kind of what we had to do on Six Gun. And I'll let Mr. Brandon take more into that.
Well, just to put it a little more bluntly, he stayed on feed a lot longer than he normally would have on our show string because of, getting ready for junior shows and all that kind of stuff and carrying him through the summer. So while the rest of our show string was on coast, he was still saying, here we go. Well, when we get to July, I'm thinking this guy is pudgy for my taste. For a lot of people, he's still here. You can get a little more out of him, but no, for me, once they start putting on a little grease, it's time to start dialing things back. And there was only one way I knew to do it. And so I put a little group of cows together and turned him out. And he stayed out for 45 to 60 days and did a great job. He got those suckers bred and maintained him. He really didn't lose as much weight as I wanted him to, but really did a good job of a herd bull. Man, just seeing that guy out there working those cows like a herd bull should, like herding them around, breeding them and really checking cows every time he could was really cool to see. And then as soon as we pulled him up, we were at a point. We realized we needed to get more semen on him because we've been using it and that kind of stuff.
Had the Australia exclusive.
And we had to fill the Australia exclusive on him. So we pulled him off of cows and sent him to collection till when? The middle of January is when we picked him up?
Yeah, I think so. About 45 days before Houston.
Yep. And when he got back, I'm thinking, before he got here, I'm like, oh, he's going to be thin. He's not going to be good enough. When he got back, I said he didn't lose enough weight. And so he just been kind of coasting. And I think, the last 3 weeks or something, we really started pushing him to get a little extra bloom and flair to him.
Yep.
And also a fun fact is that it wasn't the All-American this year, but it was the All-American when it was in West Monroe. PJ judged the bull show there, and he used Six Gun as the calf champion. Do y'all remember that?
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, no, he did. And that was
totally
the
slipped
year
my mind.
that the Garris captain's son was grand champion.
Yep, that's right.
Was Jackson Reserve grand? I don't know. I can't remember. But I know he won his division.
I don't think so.
And I know he won his division, and so it's consistency. This is the type of bull that a lot of judges like.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I mean, he's just for my taste, he's a complete fault-free type bull that's got some extra bells and whistles.
So that brings us to another question that we got about bulls, and that question is, where was Johnny Brahman?
So Johnny Brahman was back at collection.
Because
And
he would have been eligible, and what class
yeah,
would he have been
this
in?
would have been his last show. He would have been
in the last class.
The last
He's a
class
March,
or the
isn't he?
next
So he would have been in
Next to last.
next to last class. And just, we needed to get more semen on him. Had a lot of demand for it. But then also back about Christmas time.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Yeah, so 2 days before Christmas, he got sick, something in his gut. And got like I don't know what it was, but he bloated and got really bad off. And we thought we were going to lose him. But after taking him to the capable hands of Dr. Polar, he was fine the next morning. And but
the night before, on Christmas Eve, when you were giving the report, and I was like, let me talk to Dr. Polar. Dr. Polar said, we need to take him to A&M, or there's a 99% chance he's going to die. And we were like, great, wonderful. Like, this is great. But I'm thinking, if you take, what do you do? I don't know what you do, but if you take him to A&M and you do any type of like surgery or anything, you can't show no matter what.
Nope.
And we were like, our goal is to get semen out of him. And then we just said, we're putting it in the Lord's hands. And
Dr. Polar loaded him up with KO pectate the next morning. He was fine.
he was fine. Thank you, the Lord intervened.
I went to bed that night thinking I was going to have to bring the flatbed trailer to the vet clinic to load him up and bring him home to bury him. Yet, as soon as I wake up that morning, I have a message from Dr. Polar saying, your bull's good to go. Come get him. So
at that point, we were
great.
like, look, we are low on semen. We would probably rather just go ahead and start recollecting him. And so that's where Johnny was and is.
Yeah, and I'm also in the school of, it didn't really hurt my feelings, but to not take him, of course, I love the bull. I want to show him off to everybody that can see him. But I'm in the school of thought, he already won it once. Let's give another bull a shot because we can give as many different bulls the opportunity to be international champion as possible versus two-time Houston champion.
Yes,
I'd rather have two Houston champions than one two-time one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and we were also thinking like, okay, well, in our group classes, that Johnny would have no doubt been Johnny would have been probably in our best forehead or breeder's herd. He for sure would have been maybe in our embryo produce with Smoke Show. And for sure, our genetic group class was Smoke Show and Mini. So we were like, what do we do here? But we regrouped, and the depth of that mating, we won the genetic group. Instead of having Johnny, Smoke, and Minnie, we pulled up 671, who was just her first show. So it was Smoke, Minnie, and 671, like a female of every year, and they won. Yeah. And they looked amazing out there. So you're not going to like this next question that I asked.
This is directed at me?
It's just directed at the group. Okay. Did y'all feel like there was any overaging in the show?
Actually, I love that question because the whole calf division of every group, I was thinking, oh, this is bad. And it just so happens that there were a few calves out there that I kind of had some knowledge of breeding times on from some different people around. And I went back and looked, and they were as many as 60 days off, but they weren't the biggest. And so, because when they first walked out there and we had stuff in those young classes, we looked like little bottle calves compared to a lot of those guys. And I'm like, well, we'll get them. Calf classes don't matter. We'll get them later. But it's worse than I ever imagined. When they took those weights and measures off, it was off to the races with these people.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. 100%. It calls the questions, when do we bring weights and measurements back? Because, I mean, it was ridiculous in a lot of those classes.
Well, it's appalling. It's cheating and it's appalling. Yeah. And in the bull division, we had Ribeye, who was the calf champion bull, and he was in the oldest class. But when you put them out there in the lineup, he was the smallest bull.
He looked like he should have been in the first class.
Yeah. And we saw this happen last year when in those younger classes, that the judge last year, he even stopped for a minute and went back and looked at the clipboard and even expressed on the microphone, like, there's a lot of variation here in this class.
I remember that.
I sort of feel like, okay, we don't change a birthday. JD Hudgens doesn't change a birthday. We don't want to name names, but I don't believe in my experience that they change a birthday. And I can also say V8 Ranch does not change a birthday. And I'm sure there are others, but if you have a class where, like, say, if each one of those ranches had 2 bulls in the class, and then so there's 6 bulls that have an accurate birthday, that kind of gives like a contemporary group.
And from past history, knowing how those cattle age out, like, the big cattle that they have coming up, and then how they compare in those young classes, you can see there's a little bit of inconsistency here on some growth patterns.
Yeah.
And
but if you're in a class where the honest ranches are not represented, and you're the lone ranger out there, the only person who did not change a birthday, it's very telling. I mean, we can see it, but I'm sorry, these are not high performing cattle. These are not like big growthy average daily gain cattle. They're cheaters.
Yeah, no, I would not say we were the only ones that did not change, but we were the strong minority in those classes, because you could tell the people who did and who didn't. And then, like Lynn said a second ago, bring weights and measures back. I'm not necessarily in that camp either, because it all shakes out later on down the road. I'd rather be able to sleep at night myself and know that I did right and not have to worry about going through the weights and measures table. And the way and have everything shake out the way it's supposed to in the end.
Brahman breeders know, you want the finest herd, you have to start with the finest Brahman bull semen. And there's no finer selection than at BRC Ranch. Our champion makers are exactly that, but we know variety is essential. We also offer semen from low birth weight bulls, polled/scurred bulls, and sexed heifer semen. BRC Ranch works to release orders within 3 to 5 business days, but you can always stop by the ranch to pick up your order too. Bring the top Brahman sires to your ranch. Go online to shopbrcatraire.com.
My analytical mind was thinking I wanted to pull last year's show results from the calf division and compare it to this year's and see, are these animals even back? Like, did they even make it for the second year? But I don't even know that it's worth my time. Like, what I know the answer is that, they don't make it to year 3. I don't know, but it is frustrating.
At the end of the day, it doesn't affect us, but it's where I guess it does bother me is the people sitting in the stands don't know, that don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people that forget that the complete world is watching them. So
Yeah. Do you feel like the international community even has an idea that this is happening? Does that happen in the international community?
they can see when they are, cheating with the ages. And also they point, and they're really hard pointing.
I would love to have some hot mics going on in the stands. Some people that I know would give their honest opinion. Just mic them up like they do on the football field, on those NFL games and stuff. And I would love to have some hot mics going on just to hear what's being said.
But the irritating thing is when we talk about like overaging females and then fertility, like how come when we get to the older cow classes, we're not seeing more calves at side? Because honestly, these things,
because they're older than they should be.
They're older than they should be. So they should be like getting bred, but you don't see these calves on the side.
Which brings us to our next point. I would say that, as always, we always need to work on fertility and stuff, but they're definitely not helping themselves in that arena when they don't have anything in those or show any sign of pregnancy in those older classes after they've already been.
After they're 6 months older than everybody else.
Exactly.
I would also like to point out, this is no bragging by any means, but like if you do right at the end, like I think the calf champion bull and reserve calf champion bull, I think, those were, I know ours was, of course, aged his normal date, but I think the reserve calf champion bull was appropriately aged too. And it shows you, if you breed them good enough, then you don't have to worry about aging the cattle.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, there was another class winner from a guy that I had talked to, and he said, "What'd you think?" I said, "Oh, he'd have been nice. He'd have probably still won his class if he was 60 days in the right class like he should have been."
You told someone that? Oh.
Yeah.
Because
I wouldn't have said that if I didn't have absolute proof, but I got Facebook could get you sometimes.
Right. Okay. Another topic I kind of wanted to talk about when you mentioned Facebook is social media promotion prior to the show. And maybe it's one that I just care about more than others because like marketing is my interest, but if you look at the BRC Facebook page, you will see that like around February 1st, we like shifted all of our content away from individual animals. Like we were still promoting Houston, come visit us, come see us, but you did not see like, oh, here's Six Gun, we love him, like he's our best, he should be the champion, or like posting all these pictures of everything we're showing. And that was by design because the amount of like pre-promotion that people are trying to put out to the judge, it's getting a lot. Like there's a lot and everybody has the best one ever and like, and putting it out there on Facebook. And so if you take a look at ours, because we didn't put anything on there.
I tell you, I go through a roller coaster of emotions leading up to Houston because one, I know we're not doing it and I feel confident in the stuff that we're bringing, but then I'll see somebody post a good bull and I'm like, oh, I got to worry about that one. we better watch him. He can get around us because there's a lot of quality cattle out there. And then when you see them and you know that you can't compare them side by side at that moment, you're like, oh no, what's going to happen?
You should just go ahead and say the ones that you were scared about.
I tell you, there's a lot of good bulls coming up this year. One, I'll tell you, the first one, it's been a while back, but Circle F over in Georgia, they posted a video of them exercising their bulls.
And this was not content that was pre-promotion. It was a casual video.
Just a casual video of them exercising their bulls. And I told Rachel, and told the guys, I told everybody, I said, we're going to have to watch out for those two bulls because those are moderate, big muscled, tight sheath bulls that can move and are athletic. I said, those are bulls that we're going to really have to get around. And they looked good at Houston.
They did. They looked awesome.
And another bull was the bullseye bull. That's a chunk. He got some muscle in him and some masculinity, and he's coming off of that. He's got that momentum behind him from winning and doing good. That's just a flat good bull. And then, but there's the Wilson's bull that what they call him, handshake.
Sir Raoul's handshake.
Yeah, Sir Raoul's handshake. That bull, I saw him in class when I'd seen him coming along. So I'd seen him at Cattlemen's Congress and a few of those others. And I said, this is an all-around kind of bull. It's good-footed, good-jointed, but massive in terms of muscle and capacity. I said, PJ's going to like this bull. And so I was so glad to see them do good. But there was a lot of good bulls coming into it. Hudgens had that good Dario bull that did real good at San Antonio, and so that was one I was leading up to.
So it was when the Circle F video came out of them exercising. We talked about it. I don't know if you remember this, Dave. And
Yes, ma'am, I do.
These are some good bulls. I was like, how do you think our bulls compare? And you said, I don't remember exact word, but you said, let's bring them because I like a good bull. I like a good bull show. And that's so true.
I love good competition.
You want good competition.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the best bulls out there. You want the whole world to be able to see there's like 10 really good Brahman bulls here that people can use. Like, and it just, I kind of needed that little reset of like, no, we're not afraid of competition. We want competition.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it makes the Brahman breed look good as a whole whenever you've got a bunch of really nice aged senior bulls that are fixing to go out in the world and make the Brahman breed greater as a whole.
Yeah. That are good-footed and stout and can offer some power to a breeding program. Yeah. That's really cool. I like that when it makes a win that much more satisfying when you know that you had some competition. What's the dude on Ricky Bobby say? Somebody that truly greater than me, then I can retire or whatever. What's the name? The French guy's name. Yeah. So it was great to see such a big group of high quality aged bulls there at the show.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
We mentioned the Wilson's bull, who's a 968 son, but we had a lot of customers that did really well. I don't know if we want to, highlight any of them, but, any that come to mind that really stood out.
I would say the one that I really like that is, I guess, a special. There's a lot of special ones, but the one that's really special to my heart is Shush and Leighton Joe's heifer. I think 478's her number, but Leighton's relationship with Annie and their friendship is what really ties it all together. And that's how they got that. Cause I remember when right before they got that heifer, her uncle Nick said, of course, we all know that Leighton and Annie are such close friends, but Nick had reported that, hey, Leighton wants a good heifer, but the requirement is it's got to have an AC on its shoulder. And we said, we'll see what we can do. And they ended up getting that heifer out of the Night of Champions sale in October. And they've been on a whirlwind tour racking up. Do what?
$7,000.
Yeah, they bought that heifer for $7,000 out of the Night of Champions sale. And since that time, Leighton has taken care of that heifer, got her looking absolutely amazing, has turned her into an amazing showmanship heifer. It seems like every Facebook post I see of the Coronados and the Jefferson family is of her winning a showmanship with her or her winning the championship with her. And so that brings a lot of joy knowing that stemmed from a special friendship between Annie and Leighton.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and that just, you mentioned they had gotten her from the Night of Champions sale. I would like to just continue to point out that our appreciation for our customers and the fact that our genetics were represented really well in 11 class wins at Houston this year.
Our customers.
Yeah, our customers, sorry.
That's
our
what it worked out to,
customers,
was 11?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
We had 11 class wins, and
That's
our
impressive.
customers and our genetics represented there. 3 division winners and 3 reserve division winners. So shout out to all of those, and we sure appreciate you guys always coming back and sourcing your genetics through us, and we're glad y'all were able to have a successful show at Houston this year. So I think that's where we go into – what were we going into again?
I was going to say, I got a text from Dr. Randy Murray. I think we both got a text. He got, because they bred a division champion of the Captain Cold Bull.
Yeah.
That was division champion. That's a captain out of BRC Carmelita. And I think Carmelita got in the Register of Renown, and Dr. Murray had texted us and said, do we want to go, or would we like to go with him to the banquet to get the certificate? And we were like, well, that's your certificate. You own the cow. And he said, no, we're all in this together. And I loved that. I thought that was a really nice sentiment.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Speaking of being all
What do
in
they call
this,
that little tank? I think so.
Okay.
But it's Captain Cold, and Randy was showing him, right?
Yep.
And and always under the management of Dennis Pickering and Jamie and those, but they've done such a good job. That bull's been a strong contender all year.
Yes.
And so I'm really glad to see that they did well. That's a nice bull.
Okay, speaking of being all in this together, we have left out a major important thing. And that is that we would not have Six Gun without being all in this together with Randall Tip.
Without Randall Tip.
Because we didn't even mention that, but you should highlight the mother of.
Let me break into my spiel. So, as everybody knows, years ago, we wanted to put more emphasis and more focus on fertility and productivity, but also trying to maintain quality, eye appeal, things like that, and also bring in some new genetics as well. So along about these, it all happened about the same time when we're starting to bring in a lot of these new genetics and working these deals out with between King Garrett, 584, and bringing him in and using him with Sweetie and some other cows. But then we also identified some cows with like the Salinas Ranch and their maternal merit 389 daughter that we did and a few other cows. But that also led us to our great friend Randall Tip and Jacob Tip and Miss Marcia and Janie and the whole family. And we were just over there visiting one day, and we saw the 631 cow, and I'm like, that cow's still alive? And they're like, yeah, of course she is. She does a great job. And I said, man, I'd really like to try to get something on that cow, daughters or anything like that. He said, and you know Randall. The grandkids call him Opa, and Opa.
We call my kids call him Opa.
Yeah, so it said Opa said y'all got them really good bulls down there. We should just flush her together and work out this deal and split the calves and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, shoot, that sounds good to me. The cool thing about this cow, in 2008, she was a 3-year-old at the World Brahman Congress and was Reserve Senior Champion and looked amazing. And Janie had a great show career with her through the she was champion at the All-American and stuff like that. And was just, I remember, because that was when I was on the junior board, and I just would always stand in awe and look at that thing when she walked in the ring, because that was a cow. Even back when she wasn't a cow and still a heifer showing, she was impressive. And then when we saw her that day over at Opa's house, and I think at the time she was 17 years old, and I went back and looked at her calving record, and as a 17-year-old, she maintained a calving intervals of 366 days. And I look around Mr. Randall's herd, and you say, what is this one? And he said, oh, that's a 631 granddaughter. Oh, that's a 631 daughter. I said, what's them bulls over there? That's a 631 son. And I was like, this is just right. So putting all those things together was like a perfect match. I think when we flushed her, there were 11 embryos made. When we split them, sent 6 to Randall and Janie and Jacob and Miss Marcia, and we put in 5, got 5 pregnancies, had 5 calves born. I think all 4 made it to the show barn. So it was an impressive deal. It was just
Federale.
Yeah, Federale's the other brother. We had another brother that we sold in Night of Champions sale to Brad Hensey, and I get good reports from him all the time, said he's doing such a great job. Mm-hmm. And then there was another sister that was really cool too. But that was just, it was like the way the pieces fell into place on that deal was pretty cool. But I like, even though the bull won Houston, I'm happy for him, but I like the rest of it that goes with him.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to wrap up with a game of high-low. Do y'all know what that is? High-low. Our girls play it every day. Like your high of Houston and your low of Houston. And be thinking of yours. I don't know if I have a high. I would maybe say the high was like the rush of sales that came at the booth after Six Gun won. And Lynn, you might talk about more about that. I would say my low was all the people who came and visited here and left the door open the whole time and all the flies that came in. That was a low. That is a low. People who don't respect cleanliness in your bathrooms as they visit, that's a low. But I don't know. I didn't really have
at the same time, it could be said that there was some people that didn't have the fortunate to have so many great visitors come and visit their ranch and look at their cattle. So at the same time, you got to take a few lumps along the way.
Yes, I know. I just don't like flies in the house. I don't like flies in this office. Does anybody else have a high-low? Carlos?
For me, the high The first time that I looked six gun was June of 2024 when I take the first photo of him, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a really good bull." And now looking at him as a champion, it's like, well, he deserved that because he was always amazing.
I would like to go back to, now that you bring that up, I would like to go back through the pictures because in my mind, even from a baby, I found a phone picture of him as like a 3-month-old calf the other day. But then pictures along the way, to me, he hasn't changed a lot. You'll see some bulls that start out as just like regular calves, and then they go through a rough patch and they'll get kind of nice, and then their growth patterns, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're a good bull. But his trajectory from calf on up to now has been pretty steady and solid the whole way. Yep.
Oh, Carlos is pulling it up. He has pulled the picture
I
up.
would have to find
So that's the first
picture.
one.
Yeah,
and then we took one last year, which
Yeah.
is the one that we use. Yeah.
That's the first one, and when I took it, it was like, well, this is very impressive.
Yeah.
And my low for the show, I didn't like the different kind of colors in gray. For me, gray is gray, and red is red, and I have some reddish going darker.
Oh, you mean the variety of color shades of gray?
Yeah.
Or
Speaking as a
gray-esque.
true Mexican breeder, you want solid gray, right?
I do remember at one point that the song from Pocahontas, what is it, Colors of the Wind? That kind of went through my head a little bit, but I'm like, yeah, they're nice cattle. They're solid, they're sound and stuff like that.
Some of
So
them are.
they're he's
I'm just being nice.
he's staying true to a type, you know. And so as far as having some muscle and some capacity and maintaining soundness, he's staying true to a type. Now, there's some definite variations in color.
There was a red animal in the gray show because it took for a minute, and I don't know how all of that works. Y'all may, but it looked like a pure red. So I don't know if it got classed out and it just got thrown into the gray.
The thing is that if the class is in the pedigree, it's the father are gray and the mother is gray, it's going to be in the gray class, not in the red one.
Well, it threw me off because I was like, this animal is out of place. You know, that I don't know. Connor, you're Lynn. Do you want to?
Absolutely.
Who wants to go?
A high for me was obviously, winning, Grand Champion Bull and Reserve Champion Heifer. Never in a million years did I think I would. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the groups, and never in a million years did I think I'd, be sticking a Grand Champion Bull at Houston. But really, a low, just Houston traffic. That's the only low for me. I had such a fun show, so.
Staging lines.
In Iowa and Louisiana, right?
Oh, that's good. Now, I would have to say the high for me being on the side of the making the sales and handling customers and, promoting our genetics in that aspect was all the traffic we got post Houston and the excitement and joy of all these international breeders as we're riding through the pastures and looking at all the, up and coming calves, their January born calves and the fall born calves. There was just a lot of excitement in being able to promote those genetics and those embryo calves that are developing now at that age, and seeing that 6-gun calves that are now on the ground, Johnny Brahman calves now on the ground. A lot of these breeders were just eating it all up. And that was definitely the high for me. Low, I haven't really figured that one out yet.
Sharing a hotel room with Brandon.
No, that wasn't half bad. Yeah.
I do want to point out the morning of the bull show, Mr. Brandon was out there already washing bulls whenever we got there at 4 o'clock.
Tradition. Now you're
He
gonna
was
have to do it.
It was definitely a morale booster.
That's what
We had a late night the night before.
Lynn, I gotta say, you get major props because you were like a machine with the international people, and they loved being able to talk in Spanish to you. I heard so many international people saying like, Lynn, and then like we talked about like your mental load was just heavy because you were, had so many customers, and you gave more tours on this last 2 weeks than anybody else here on the team.
Yeah, I think I could honestly say that might have been a low, was being where every evening after that I was just mentally tapped out. But or even during so maybe trying to keep my marbles together and like, okay, this is what I'm saying, this is where I'm guiding our customers to, and just having my talks kind of in order. But no, I think the development and growth I've had with you guys in the last 5 years has led me to this point, and I just want to continue to rise.
Did you because I know you love showing, did you miss, but this year a couple of times you said let the younger guys take them in, like give the younger guys an experience. Did you miss being on the show side a little? I mean, you still showed Federale, you showed 700, you showed some of the favorites.
I will say that is an aspect I do miss, just being able to come in and out of the ring and just, hey, swap calves, go back in, stick a calf. I like being behind the scenes now. It's kind of where I can help the most, I think, sometimes, where I give the chance for the younger guys to continue to develop in the show ring, gaining that confidence, and I can just be in the back, making sure our cattle are kept clean and, being filled up, getting ready for that 12 o'clock look. It's definitely something I can say in the last 5 years with you guys, I've grown out of, just different phases. And I think I'm where I need to be as far as growing and continuing that path forward with you guys.
Yeah. I thought, I track everything, and I thought it was interesting that sales are up this year. I mean, sales are continually up. I've been tracking this since 2022, and sales are up this year for us 11% over what they were last year. A lot of semen sales. Our in-person visitor group count, our visitors to the ranch is up 85% compared to last year. And I mean, we were slammed. Monday, how many people would you say were here on Monday? I mean, 200?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it was a lot, and I was glad. Like Carlos, Carlos had to take point on some groups, and that it was overwhelming at one point where I think we finally got around for a break around 2 p.m. and had a slice of pizza before the next wave of people came. And I was just glad, to be surrounded by everyone here who was just helping however they could. Another shout out, Brenna. She was very staple in helping make sales at Houston this year and keeping all of us in line and keeping everything organized for us here back at the office at the ranch. She was really great in that aspect.
I would like to say, growing up, I always heard about the good old days when people were making big orders of semen and selling big orders of semen, like volume, not dollars, but volume of semen. And I don't know exactly what it was like in the old days, but I saw a lot of those big volume orders coming across the table this week, because I'm primarily not the one that's making the sales. That's Rachel and Lynn and stuff like that. But I will see the stuff come across from time to time. And I was like, wow, these are some big orders, like from what I imagined back in the day. And so that's really cool. I don't know exactly what it is, if it's just people riding off the hype of a grand champion bull, but that can't be it, because it was off of so many bulls across our program. But I think I don't know if people are finally starting to realize who BRC is or what it is.
Some people don't know who Brandon and Rachel Cotrera are, because they asked me when I was like sweeping the floor at the office who I was.
Yeah.
And I just say, I'm Brandon's wife. Esposa de Brandon.
No, but it's fun because it also goes back to just like from the first year when we started BRC in 2019, every year it's been like, can it get any better than this?
Yeah.
Can it get any better than this? And every year God has outgiven more than anticipated, expected. Of course, we never anticipate or expect anything from his blessings, but it exceeds imagination what the blessings he's poured down upon us year after year after year.
I have seen the good old days. I do know what you're talking about because, I mean, the good old days, I think people refer to was honestly be like the days of 202 and Madison. And like, so this is like late 80s. And what is that, 30 years ago? Like, you know, when people would come by a lot. But this year after Six Gun won, okay, so people, before the days of social media, I do think people would just buy semen on the Champion Bowl at Houston just because of the title. But I think once social media came out and people could actually see videos and, you know, watch the show and see for themselves, they're not buying solely off of the title. They're buying cattle that they do like, you know, but I have not seen a rush of semen sales after a show like what we saw this year, honestly, since Man of Steel won, and that was 2018. Remember that, Brandon?
Yeah.
It didn't breed as well as what we had hoped, but in the ring, that was a beautiful animal.
Yeah.
And when Six Gun won,
Speaking of that, there were there were quite a few people who, while they were visiting here at the ranch, we'd be up here at the show barn looking through the bulls and stuff like that, and they'd be like, "This is such a nice bull." Speaking about Six Gun, this is such a nice bull. Do you think he's going to breed true to what he is? And I said, well, let's just make up your mind for yourself. And we just roll them on back in the pasture and show them the consistency and quality of those calves. And they're like, point made.
I'll take 100 units.
I'll take 100 units. And so it's wonderful on that aspect of things. But, you know, we've been talking about Houston show the whole time, but some of the most exciting things that happened throughout the week didn't even happen in the Brahman barn. It happened across the way at the All Breeds sale where those F1 females were freaking on fire. You know, they were on fire. Robbie Ray Hamilton here from Wharton had the champion pin, and those things sold like crazy. And then it was amazing, just the tremendous demand for Brahman and Brahman influenced genetics. Quality Brahman and Brahman influenced genetics is off the charts right now. So I think we're in a good position to be in the driver's seat if you're breeding the right type of cattle.
Lynn, you were making a lot of the sales, and what bulls were you seeing that people were buying? Like if you had to think of these are the more popular bulls, what were they?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely Six Gun, grand champion bull this year. His sire, 160. I think a lot of the customers I was speaking with saw consistency in his breeding, and we were able to show them going through the show barn. They were like, okay, what's 160 throwing? And we're like, well, let's just show you. And so we'd bring out one bull at a time, one female at a time out of 160, and they were immediately sold. Next one up would be Dutton. I think a lot of people were asking how he breeds, and we'd describe them to them and go show them out in the pasture. They'd be sold. Johnny Brahman, champion bull of last year, they were just all enthused on what he's been throwing or what his genetics were. Some people were still unfamiliar and still not sold entirely on him winning champion and beating 240. So we were able to show what Johnny's doing for us. They were sold. And then Geronimo's Cadillac, who has been a no-brainer for us. We've used him. He's been a natural service sire for us, and we've used him in embryo production. He was the next one up. So we were very happy, and a lot of these guys or customers, they were just sold immediately. And sometimes they didn't even ask or want to see what they were throwing. They just said, what do you recommend? And these were some of the top bulls we were saying. And
230 had 2 class winners. Mm-hmm. And this is his first calves. Like they were both in the calf division of the bull show, but 2 class winners in your first calf crop ain't too shabby, you know?
Yeah, class or calf champion.
Calf champion, yeah. And Captain, of course, we sold a lot on him. Yeah. Federale, Boombox, Amos Moses, you know, 700, the little heifer, remember her name because we love her. That is a doll that we love, and she's a Amos Moses, and I think, and a lot of people loved her in the stalls, and so they saw that and bought a lot of semen on Amos.
So, I mean, yeah, we had 2 class winners out of Geronimo's Cadillac in the youngest division. That's his very first calves. And I was like, that's a good measure of a bull. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But I had already got my measure in on the bull after that first calf crop. On the way I judge it is percentage of bull calves castrated. And his was so low. I'm like, I'm going to keep breeding this bull a lot. So.
Really consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
bull
right.
we're proud to partner with on Craig Finley and the rest of his show string also. We're excited to see those other bulls of his and females of his develop with us. But I would like to also point out how Six Gun's full brother Federale, who's been kind of a shadow, but he had been selling a lot. And a lot of the customers who who saw 328 win, and then we bring out Federale, and they're like, "That's the bull I take home." And every single one of them, I would just point out, well, every breeder's got their own goals, got their own herd and type of cow they breed to. So it's, pick your poison between the two because they're both really good bulls.
Yeah, I agree. Federale or Six Gun won at this show, but Federale was a division champion at Houston too, and many people love that bull of how just lean and muscular and athletic he is. He can add a little more size compared to Six Gun, so I think a lot of our international people liked that, wanting to add the size.
Yeah, that's right. And with the same kind of genetic package behind them, they still get everything, but just in a little bit different package.
I do have a question for you, Carlos, because the bull's name is Federale, like Federale, which I would think is a Mexican police officer, right?
Yeah, it's
A Mexican police officer. We named Federale when Nemesio was here. Remember, and we were like, we need to name a bull after Nemesio, so we came up with that. Except all of the Mexican visitors call him Federal. I'm like, do they not know what Federale is, or they all call him Federal?
It's because in Spanish it's federal, that the
So I just started calling him Federal myself, but I'm calling him Federale to a Mexican, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Awesome. Any last words? Anybody want to wrap us up?
I say, it's a good Houston all the way throughout for us, but being able to see everybody and visit with everybody and have such a good time of fellowship and positivity and all that kind of stuff. Or at least that's the way it was on our aisle. And, to add to that, we get stalled by the Englands every year, and they're like amazing to be stalled by because their hospitality is off the charts. You got Miss Cindy and Miss Cricket that are fixing stuff to eat, and they've always got the coffee pot on and things like that. But their cattle look so good. They bring a lot of traffic too because of the cattle that they have. And so it's a wonderful way to feed off of one another and just share the aisle with good people and positivity. And right on the other side of us, we have Judd and Gayla and the Heritage crew and Nicole Wilson not far off there. And so we've got a nice little spot over there of good, positive. Oh yes, Molly is a wonderful babysitter for all the Colors clan, So and the Nunez kids, and it's just a great.
The England's pair.
I tell you what, I like that cow a lot, and functional. She's nicely balanced with enough muscle for me, and just the balance and eye appeal. Good-footed, amazing udder, and a good calf at side. That was where I thought that's where
when you talk of competition.
When we talk of competition, that's where I'm thinking this is one that's in the mix, and she needs to be brought to light.
Someone also needs to just comment quickly on Stewart's pairs, because we don't really pay too much attention to the Red Show, but those were two outstanding.
Was
pairs.
he champion and
in the senior? He was in the age senior and also the reserve. And I also shout out Dietering because they had like 5 natural red produces.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, but Stewart had champion and reserve age senior animals, which is an impressive feat in itself. Mm-hmm. Did you see those calves at side? Yes. Those things were fat and bloomy, and those cows were just like cookie cutters and tight. It would have been hard for me to decide which one I liked better, but they were good. And then, like I said, Dietering's, that really highlights their natural breeding program when they bust out there and just dominate with their 5 natural produces. And that's a cool deal. And
we can manage 5 natural.
Oh, that would be tough. But they did it, and they did a great job of it. So kudos to them. There was something I was wanting to say before we got off of here, but I forgot what it was. It's been a cool deal. A lot of times you see a lot of stuff on Facebook, a lot of negativity going around about the breed or this or that and stuff. I don't really see it on our end, or we didn't experience it at Houston ourselves because we were surrounded ourselves with good people, a lot of it by accident, but we were surrounded by good people and positivity, and And so right now I'm sitting on a high as far as the future of the Brahman breed and how things are going and the people in it. I think the sky's the limit. Get ready, folks, because here we come.
I think that there was the most crowded Houston show that I ever seen.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
in our aisles and
Yeah.
in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And inside the arena
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, there were a lot of cattle there.
I did miss my bestie, Carlos Castillo. He did not come this year. And I was really sad because he's the person that talks me down off of the ledge like before the show, you know. I missed him. So, yeah. Yeah. Any last words?
Thank you, Rodeo Houston.
All right.
You've been listening to the Over the Hump podcast. Our passion is Brahman cattle, and it runs deep. And this show is about its rich history, industry trends, and stories that define the American Brahman. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram and Facebook at BR Contraire. See you next time on the Over the Hump podcast.